Okay, so let's try to review for quiz number 5. So first is the 3-to-1 rule. It is not, in fact, that you should have 3 engineers or 1 engineer for 3 musicians. It is, however, a guideline, a rule of thumb that if you have 2 microphones that could possibly pick up the same source, that you want the second microphone to be more than 3 times the distance from the source. So, if you have 1 microphone that is a foot away from the snare drum, you want the overhead mic to be more than 3 feet away from the snare drum. And I'm sure we talked a lot more about that. But 3-to-1 rule, the distance between 2 microphones to the sound source. Polar patterns. Our general polar patterns are cardioid, figure 8, and omnidirectional. There are a bunch of other variations of cardioid that I'm not going to go into, but they exist. Bifurcated, I think, is the one that I made up. So if you're just looking at the multiple choice test, bifurcated is incorrect. It is not a polar pattern. Monocompatibility is that both the left and the right channel are not out of phase. And actually, I think the wording in the quiz is that they are in phase, and as I think about that and I try to be a good teacher and technical, I would say monocompatibility is not that it is in phase necessarily, but that it is not out of phase. And that's semantics, but that is good enough. But playing with that in phase, out of phase sort of thing, we learned the mid-side technique, where we use 2 microphones. We have the mid microphone in the center that gets the direct signal, and then we've got a figure 8 mic that goes at a 90-degree angle to that. And the real action happens on that 90-degree figure 8 mic, because we take that signal, we pan one side, one of it to the left, one copy of it to the right, and then we flip the phase on the on one of them. It doesn't really matter, right? So in the center, they kind of cancel out, but then it widens out the ambient noise, not the direct noise. And I hope we demonstrated that in the lecture, and we heard a little bit of that. Blumline is the last technique. I do not use a whole lot of Blumline. It's a fairly acoustic, but a very natural and a very monocompatible technique, where you have 2 figure 8 mics at a 90-degree angle that are coincident. Coincident is just the fancy word that I like to use for in the same place. Put 2 mics in the same place, one facing the left, one facing the right. And the cool thing about them being figure 8 is that the right mic gets picks up the direct sound from the right, and the reverb or reflections from the left, and vice versa, right? The left picks up the direct sound from the left and the reverb from the right. Okay, so that is quiz number 5. Thank you very much.